Since 1986, Dr. Zanki has been working on installations, performances, experimental film and video, and research into graphic media. He's kind of a polymath. He received numerous prizes for his work, and he's exhibited his work internationally, exhibited it widely. He graduated from the Academy of Fine Arts in Zagreb in 1994 with a thesis titled Mysticism in the Practice of Josip Zanki, and an experimental series of etchings called New Machines, which was a remake of the research conducted by the Croatian Renaissance scientist, and forgive me if I say this incorrectly, Faust Vrancic? Vrancic. Then, if that wasn't enough, in 2016, he completed a PhD in ethnology and cultural anthropology in the Faculty of Philosophy, also at the University of Zagreb. His published books and essays include The Stone Flower in Pannonia, Collective Trauma, Memory, and War, Deconstructing the Balkan Masculinities, Local Tradition and Gender Representation in Video Installation and Art in the Region, and Image and Myth, Artwork in the Post-Industrial Age. Since December 2007, he's been the president of the Croatian Artists Association, which is the oldest association of its sort in the region. It was established in 1868. And since 2011, he's been a member of the European Cultural Parliament. Josip Zanki teaches in the University of Zadar in the Department of Ethnology and Anthropology, and he lives and works in Zagreb. His current research is on the conceptualization of space in tanka painting in contemporary art. Again, is that? Yeah. Okay. In tanka painting in contemporary art. And he's going to be speaking to us about this today. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Josip Zanki.
Okay, thank you, Natalie. So title of this talk is Consecration of the Space and Ritual Practice in Contemporary Art. Me personally, I don't like definition, but if I need to give one definition, what is sacred space, I'm going to use the definition by historian of religion, Mircea Eliade, and he defined sacred space. He says that one object or a space is sacred if it's overcome the surrounding space or surrounding object, if it's overcome surrounding reality. So this Mircea Eliade definition for the sacred is very good. And about the ritual, definition of the ritual, I will not give, but I agree with Van Gennep concept of three different levels of the ritual, the separation, then initiation, and communitas, in which normally the concept of initiation or transformation for me, like an artist and a researcher, was very important. Why I have this picture here? Because I'm going to speak also about the image. Because in my research, I cannot determine image from the ritual aspect or from the space aspect. And I think the beginning of the image, it's the beginning also of the ritual practice and the arts. So about the origin of the image, this image that you, in Slavic language, it's a little bit difficult. Why? Because we have only two words. We have word slika, which can include image in English, which can include picture, which can, so it can, word slika, it's material and non-material. And then normally we have word icona or icon. But icona, it means only a holy image, but not the icon which in English word you, in English language you use for the icon for example, for computer icon. So we adopt this word, but okay. So the thing with the Slavic language that they are very metaphysical, so slika can be connected with other words. So I will speak about the image and about the origin of the image. This is the example which is used by the German art historian Hans Belting. And the story about the first image, which is written in Pliny book, is that the first image was made in the land of death, and shadow of the dead person was on the wall, and with the brush the outline of the shadow was made. So this outline represents the first image, according to the Hans Belting. Another famous story, so I will use here Bryson. This is the story again, to come back to Pliny. It's the story about the famous competition between two Greek painters, Zeuxis and Parrhasius. And as you know, Zeuxis was the one who painted the grape on the wall. And this grape was so real that even real bird, wanted to eat it. Why I use this example? So Bryson, in his famous book, 4 Essays about the Still Life, explain this act very interesting. How he explained this act? So Bryson said that when the birds fly, when they are in the open space, they are in the real space. When they are entering the theater, because the painting, the grape was painted in theater, they are entering the cultural space. And in the moment when they touch the painting, they are entering the symbolical space. So the symbolical space, it's at the same time, it's the space of initiation, it's the space of transformation itself. And I think this example of Bryson is very important to understand what is ritual and what is connection with the image and with the ritual. Okay? Normally, one important aspect generally in the, I don't like it because it sounds very colonial, in the West world is the battle between iconofighter and iconoclast. As you know, these two big fight was in the beginning of the Christian church, and why the iconofighters win? There was a clash between the one who the iconoclast was saying that if you paint a saint or if you paint Jesus, you are dealing only because God as itself, it have a two nature. It have a divine nature and a human nature. So you are dealing only with the human nature, not with the divine nature. So this is very interesting because iconofighter win, and this is very important to understand also the concept of image win, because they explain that the image, it's not only transforming to the God into the one nature, into the human nature, because you are showing Jesus. Their thesis was, again according to Eliade and some other, is that image is a channel to communicate with the quality of a saint or a quality of the God. This is very important to understand history of the image, because the concept of the channel, it's, for example, it's completely different to the Tibetan Buddhist painting, which I was researching, and some aspect in contemporary art. Again, this is example of vanitas of the image which is religious, and for us it's not religious also, it's a Bryson research. In his 4 essay of still life, he gave an example of vanitas, like something which for us can represent a still life, and for the Dutch painter at that time and religious people in Netherlands at that time, it's represent a Protestant idea of vanitas and luxury and the other thing. So why is this important? Because according to Bryson, there is always a culture construction, and we see the thing under our culture construction. And again, about the concept of the image, about the concept of the channel, do we speak about the representation of religious idea, because the vanitas, in one point of view, is representation, and it's completely different than idea of the channel. And now we are switching into the contemporary art. This guy which you see here, his name is Hermann Glettler. He's a friend of mine, so now you will be shocked. So he's a Catholic priest, and he works in the parish of St. Andrea in Graz. Graz is an Austrian city, very conservative, very middle class. So he has this parish of St. Andrea, but he's also art historian and conceptual artist. And also friend of famous actionist Hermann Nitsch. So his church is full of installation. This will be a theme for another lecture, but I'm showing you this work. I will not show you a video because it's quite controversial. So what he's doing, in a way, when I mention you the representation, when I mention you the symbolism and the channel, in this video, Superfood, priest and conceptual artist Hermann Glettler are sitting on the table, and he's eating a food which have a reference to the Bible, like grape, he's drinking wine, and he's eating fish. And for this performance, he's using a plastic Jesus, which he took for this very kitschy plastic Jesus, which he took from the coffin, because usually on the coffin, on the burial tradition in Austria and Central Europe, the coffin are very kitschy, and then you have this plastic Jesus. So his idea was to eat from the body of Christ, and this is again interesting, he, like a contemporary artist, like a performance, he recycled himself, like transformed his concept of a priest, because he's dealing with the same idea in the service, but transforming it into the artwork. And what is important for us, so he's in this concept, he's in a way, he's closing the not only idea of the channel, but also idea of the representation. I will tell you later why this is important. And now again, when we are speaking about the idea of channel and the idea of iconoclasm, iconofighters, human nature, there is a two very similar story about the first image. The concept of first image is also very interesting, like a first image of Buddha, which according to different theory was produced. There is a different story, was produced because the painter couldn't watch Buddha itself, so he watched him in the mirror on the lake. And then there is some other story, like Buddha itself sent his own image, painted image, to one princess. And contrary to this, we have a legend, a story about the first image of Christ, a famous medallion. Also very similar story, you have the legend that this image was sent personally by the Jesus. So, to understand also that, I will go a little bit maybe now far away from the theme, but to understand the concept of the first image of Christ, and to understand the East painting, and the tradition of icon in East Slavic world, like the Russian world, it's to understand the idea of infinity. This gold color around Jesus symbolized infinity. And that's the reason why, again, Belting read the black cube and the white cube on the white surface of Kazimir Malevich as a concept of the icon. And in the first Supremacist exhibition, Kazimir Malevich installed his white cube on the white surface in this place of the wall. So these two walls met together, because for the Orthodox culture, for the East Slavic culture, this is the most holy way into the house. And this white color symbolized the gold, and gold symbolized infinity, okay? But now I said something about the image, because I mentioned you the symbolic space, I mentioned you the concept of channel, I mentioned you the concept of representation of the space, like in Vanitas, and now generally about how I read the space. According to the theory of postmodern American geographist Edward Soja, he made this theory mixing the philosophy of Lefebvre, then Homi Bhabha, and then the literature of Jorge Luis Borges. According to his theory, there is three different spaces. One is real space, another one is a space of representation, like in art and imagination, and there is a third space. Why the third space is important? Because according to Soja, The third space is a space of the continuous simultaneity. It's the space where all space and the time met together. And Soja writes about famous Borges novel, Aleph. Somebody of you maybe read it. If you didn't read it, please, because it's very interesting. And the concept of Aleph, normally Aleph, as you know, is the first letter of Holy Alphabet, the Jewish alphabet. And it's similar to the knowledge of Gematria. And knowledge of Gematria in Europe Renaissance, it's very important because of Cornelius Agrippa and his teaching. And according to Borges, Aleph symbolizes a small piece of the space, but this piece of the space consists all other spaces, and past and the future and the present. And if you read Aleph by Borges, it's a very poetical novel. You will see when Borges is mentioning a woman which he met in Inverness in Scotland, then he's mentioning sunset hour in Argentina, and he said that Aleph is the place where I can see my past, my present, my future, but I can see all possibility of my life which never has happened. Why this concept is important of Soja? Okay, we can take this epistemology of Soja, but we can take also the epistemology of Levi-Strauss, because the same concept of third space, it's the concept of the third space, it's completely the same or similar to concept of mind savage of Levi-Strauss. So according to Levi-Strauss, the magic mind, or indigenous mind, however you like, or a mind savage, works on a different layer than a rational mind. So a rational mind is based on the law, and this law work in the reality for everything. And magical law, magical mind, works only on one level. And the law on one level, on one magical level, cannot, according to Levi-Strauss, cannot be transformed to another level. I will give you an example. Shaman, in his trance, he go to alter reality, he go to astral reality, he comes back, and he cannot express his vision with the normal world. He cannot express it in rational mind. He expresses it in symbolic word. So word, and he expresses it like a poetry. Okay. So this is how it works. So concept of third space and concept of mind savage, it's very similar. Or if we are going to the history of European Hermeticism, we can use the Helena Petrovna Blavatsky concept of astral body or astral reality, however you like, or we can take the very similar concept of Russian philosopher Peter Damianovich Uspensky and other. But for me, this epistemology of the third space is important to read contemporary art and to read Tanka painting, Tibetan Tanka painting. Okay? So another aspect, this is a Guy Debord, French philosopher. 67, he wrote The Society of Spectacle, just to tell you where we live now, and this book predicts first revolution in Paris 68, but this book completely predicts today's society where we live now, because we live in the times of spectacle. This book completely predicts the thing like Big Brother, predict the social network in virtual reality, and some other aspect where we live and which one we have to deal. Also like a concept of virtual reality. But about virtual reality, I will not mix the concept of third space with the virtual reality. Why? I will quote again Hans Belting. Hans Belting says that the virtual reality is the place where man, human, and the machine is a computer, are the same organ in the locus of the image. Okay, again we are coming back to the image, so they live in the image, in the virtual image, but the man and the machine together. Normally it can be interesting, like in the work of Stellark, but it's theme for completely another lecture. For me just was important, let's say, to divide the virtual reality from the concept of the third space or a mind savage, because mind savage or third space is ritualistic, it's shamanistic, and the virtual space, it's always connected with the machine. Okay? And I mentioned you, when I was speaking about image, concept of channel and the concept of representation, because vanitas represent the religious idea, Protestant religious idea. It's not the still life. So it's this vanitas painting show you hedonism, which you have to avoid in your life. This painting is important. Why? Normally it's a Manet painting by Folie Bergère. If you read one small Foucault book, but my opinion, very important book. Okay, Foucault didn't wrote a lot of things about the art, but he wrote about the space, and in his book about Manet, which was originally it was his lecture he had done in Algeria. The title of this book is Manet and the Object of Painting. Foucault thesis that this painting by Folie Bergère, in a way, stopped this tradition of representation of the space. Why? Because, very shortly, if you look to this lady, if you understand the concept of representation, so like a real world, you cannot see her in this position in the mirror. You will not see. And you will not see this guy, because this guy is in the front. So you will, because her figure in the mirror is in the back. So Foucault's thesis is that this painting determines the concept of representation and change the perception of the space. Also very interesting when he wrote about Kandinsky. He mentioned Kandinsky like the person who also determined this concept of representation. Why? Because Foucault said that when Kandinsky paint a triangle, or when he paint a cube of the blue color, its cube of the blue color, for example, doesn't represent anymore a sea, it's just a cube of the blue color, or triangle is a triangle. So this game of representation, it's finished. And what we have now, so we don't have a representation, normally we have a third space, we have a magical space, we have an art piece which we cannot describe with a normal language, with a theoretical language, which we cannot enter only like a viewer. How we enter this art piece which exists in the third space? We enter them like not only like a participants, like the one who is collaborating in the ritual. This is the work, famous work, Weather Report by Olaf Eliasson. His famous installation in Tate Modern in Turbina Hall, installed 2003, 2004, and me personally, I went to see this work. Why this is important? Because Olaf Eliasson made artificial sun in the gallery, made a special area in the gallery which looked like a sfumato. He produced a Renaissance sfumato in the gallery, and people, all the visitors, react in it was a massive hysteria. They react in completely different way how they look, for example, a classic installation or video art of the painting. So they were watching because the top of the space was covered with a mirror. So the mirror, so he produced infinite space. So you had a sun on the wall. In the air you had a sfumato. And on the top of the space you had a mirror, so you could reflect yourself. And people were watching, people were laughing, people were taking a photo. And really, it was like not only like a magical machine, like a wonder camera. And produce, what this produced in the visitor, it's produced a completely different feeling of time and the space. Okay? So this is the one example. And one interesting example, this is one artist with whom I work. His name is Wolfgang Buchner. Also very interesting artist. He studied philosophy, he's Austrian, and he's working with the idea of salt and saline. So he's traveling through Mediterranean Sea and visiting Saline, and his idea is that the crystal of salt, it's representing the idea of the archetype architecture. And this, what you see here, is the famous building in Jerusalem, Dome of the Rock. the most famous. It's very early, from the 5th century, which is on the place, on the famous stone when Abraham wanted to sacrifice Isaac. So for the Jewish, it's a holy stone, and for the Islamic people are also holy, because from this stone, according to the Islam tradition, Muhammad was transferred into the heaven. And Dome on the Rock have this scale, and according to Buchner, he believed that the scale of the Dome on the Rock is similar to the crystal. Why this is interesting? Because the idea of the crystal is the idea of the number, idea of this building Dome of the Rock is the number, and we can, let's say, read it like an Aristotelian and Agrippa concept. According to the Aristotelian concept, every object and all reality are consisted of number. So number is the base for everything. Okay? So one example, and another example is Anthony Gormley, contemporary British sculpture, and this is his piece, Another Place, which this is the ambient or installation, how you like, or group of sculpture which he installed on Cosby Beach in England. So this body represents human body. Why this is interesting? Because this work also express what is the idea of embodiment now, what is the idea of the representation. Because this beach is not popular, it's some kind of non-place, a place which is not beautiful. And common viewer will not come there, will not be embodied, will be not present. But this sculpture represents a human. And they live, they exist on the place where they will not be visible. So this work, it's about the embodiment, about presentation, and about representation. Some other work of like a blind light of Anthony Gormley, which was installed 2006 in Higher Gallery in London. It's also very interesting because they are producing a third space. Okay, and now we see one of his sculpture, the same concept in the mountain. So now I show you a few artists, contemporary artists. I will, in a way, I will try to attach some of this idea to my work and tell you more about the ethnography. I will come back to the image, and I will come back to the idea of ritual. So, one of my favorite work, which I produced together with a sound artist and conceptual Croatian artist, Goran Gagic, the title of this work is Mirila, or a measurement. If you translate it to English, it's measurement. And this work is, it's an ambient and performance. It's devoted to mountain Velebit. So the interesting thing that me, like an ethnographer, like a researcher, I visited this mountain. I started to visit it very early and start to research one very old tradition. So this is very unique mountain. It's the cleanest part of Europe. Water, forest, everything is very clean. It's south, very south. And in this mountain and some other region in North Dalmatia, we have this ritual of measurement or mirila. This ritual was not researched. Why? Because the classic art history in Croatia, their thesis was that this is a folk art and represent nothing. It's like a folk art. It's not specially not specially interesting. This was the thesis of the art history, and the thesis of archaeologists or ethnologists. They didn't know what to how to deal with them. So one ethnographer, her name is Mirjana Trošer, started to research it, and I started to research it because of the family tradition. My father was the one who was doing this ritual last in the village where I grew up. So and I will tell you about the ritual. So what is measurement? What is Mirila? Mirila is the stone monument. Mirila is the place, like this place on the mountain, and Mirila is the ritual. And now I will explain you what was the ritual. So in the mountain, when somebody died, he died in the village where there was no church or the cemetery. So after 3 days, people transport his body, and without coffin. His body was just covered with a some kind of textile. And these people who were transporting the body stopped only once. They were not allowed to put the body down on the soil. They could do it only on a holy place. And when before putting the body down, they put the flat stone down, and they put one stone which touched the head, a headstone, and one stone which touched the leg. And they were taking his measure. They were taking his measure, and this happened always in the sunset. After doing this ritual, they transport the body into the graveyard where there was a priest and the Catholic or Orthodox ritual, whatever. Why this is important? According to the local belief, they believe if you took the measure of the body, the soul of the dead person will not come back to the earth, to physical world, and will not disturb his relative or cousin or village. First, according to them, if you take the measure, you make a copy, like astral body of the dead person, and you help that person to go faster to the heaven. So for this local tradition in the Mount Velebit, which I was researching, they respect this monument and this ritual much more than a graveyard. Normally they are pre-Christian, and they have a lot of different elements. The problem with this ritual and this monument, it's interdisciplinary phenomenon. You cannot research it in normal way. One Slovenian ethnographist, he done also a special research about this and about the position of the stones and about position of the measurement. The interesting thing, it's always the same family together, and there was no gender separation. So male and female, they were together, only there was a family separation, okay? They also engrave very interesting ornament. So like these symbolize axis mundi, or the tree of the world. And the tree of the world in the Slavic mythology, it's oak. As you know, in Nordic mythology, it's a different tree. It's a tree of Yggdrasil, which symbolizes the connection between the land of the dead and the heaven. And in the middle, you have the real world. In the Nordic mythology, there is a squirrel which make a communication, because the underworld and the heaven and Odin, who is on the top. In Slavic mythology of all Slavic, on the top is God Perun, down is God Veles. Okay, so this is the symbol of the axis mundi. And you have another symbol like swastika, pentagram, and it's very interesting for Slavic tradition. Pentagram is the symbol of humanity. Okay, so this is the symbol. This is the interesting symbol. This is the symbol of the person who pray, orant, and also can be read like Trotslan. Trotslan you can find on Ukrainian flag. And this Trinity symbolizes not the Trinity, Holy Trinity, Christian Trinity. It symbolizes the pre-Christian Trinity. It's the Trinity of Perun, may God, Veles or Volos, however like, his enemy, and the wife of Perun, and also she is the wife of Volos. And there is also interesting theory that she's her name is Mokosh, but there is a theory that also she's transgender. So it's a very, very interesting concept, and this symbolizes this. I don't like word pagan. I would say pre-Christian or Slavic mythology. So again, one very nice ornament. Axis mundi, you see it here, very nice. The tree, and this tree you can find in all Slavic country, everywhere. And this tree you can find on Shaman Dran. Why this tree? Because this tree is starting from the pre-religion. Because tree in shamanism also symbolize connection between the underworld and the heaven. Because shaman, he can climb on the ladder or he climb on the tree. You know, in Roman tradition you have a tradition of golden branch and Anna. So okay, you see here. And now I will tell you what we done in the performance finally. So, because my father was doing this ritual, me and my colleague Bojan Gagic, we create ambient performance called mirila or measurement, where we done this ritual with a live person, with everybody who wants, participants. The participants, they enter, if they enter the room, they have to take off the shoes, they have to take off all the matter. They lay down, we took a measure, and we use also special meditation on the position of depth, of their depth, or our depth. So, and we changed this performance many times. So when we performed it in Boston, United States, it was different. When we performed it in Italy, it was different. We changed the concept. But the main idea of this performance was to create another space, to create a third space, and to create a vision of, so all the participants have the vision of their own depth. So we wanted to create the connection between the present and the eternal future, or determined future, however you like. So this was our idea. Okay, so you see here how we relax the person who lay down, okay. There and down. And we always work with the local stone. So we pick up, when we work in Boston, we pick up the stone in Rockport near Boston. Okay. And then we perform it also for 7 people near one lake in Zagreb. Okay, now there is a light, so we will not see this very good. And this week, and then we done this also. This was an ethnographic part because we collaborate. We ask these people who participate, because we take a measure of the 7 people at the same time, to draw their experience, and then we publish the book. Okay, this is in the gallery in Zagreb with the assistant. And this is some of the image of the drawing. You see the body, taking the measure, some landscape. Okay, and before I switch to another topic, I'm going to show you now shortly the movie